Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty massive shift happening in the financial world. We're talking about a change that could unlock billions of dollars and finally make our markets run 24/7 for real.
So let's kick things off with a problem, a real paradox, actually. You see, our financial markets, they never sleep, right? They're going 24/7. But the system, the actual plumbing that moves money around to back up all those trades, yeah, that's completely stuck in the past. And what you get is this fundamental mismatch. It's like having a race car that could only get gas from 9 to 5 on weekdays. It causes delays, it adds a ton of risk, and it means huge amounts of capital are just stuck, totally locked up, especially over a long weekend. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with that 24/7 market problem. Then we'll get into the CFTC's digital solution. After that, we'll unpack the new rules, check out the payoff, why this is such a big deal, and of course, we'll cover the catch, the new rules and risks involved. And finally, we'll ask, is this a whole new blueprint for finance?
All right, first up, the 24/7 market problem. And it really boils down to this. For all this high-speed trading to even happen, you need a security deposit. It's called collateral. Think of it as putting down a deposit to show you're good for the trade.
But traditionally, posting that collateral, oh man, it's slow. We're talking bank wires that take forever, maybe even waiting for checks to clear. So if you get a brilliant trading idea on a Saturday, well, too bad. You're completely out of luck because the old financial plumbing, it's just closed for the weekend. But then the switch got flipped. On December 8th, 2025, a really important U.S. regulator, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, y'all hear them called the CFTC, they came out with a totally modern fix for this analog problem.
What they did was launch something called the Digital Assets Pilot Program. And this is a really big deal. It's basically a brand new initiative designed to let things like Bitcoin, Ether, and stablecoins be used as collateral. We're talking about integrating these instant, always-on digital assets right into the very core of the U.S. financial system.
Okay, so let's unpack these new rules. How do they actually pull this off? Well, it really comes down to 3 big moves the CFTC made. First up, they put out some new guidance on what they call tokenized assets. Now, think of this like creating a digital twin for a real-world asset, like a bond. The CFTC basically said, hey, making a digital version doesn't change what the underlying asset is. But it sure can make it move a whole lot faster and even be split into smaller pieces. Second, and this is important, they gave something called no action relief. Now that's just classic regulator speak, right? But what it really means is they gave a big green light to financial firms, telling them, go ahead, you can start accepting Bitcoin, Ether, and certain stablecoins as collateral. And you don't have to worry about us taking enforcement action as long as you follow these strict new rules. It's all about giving them the confidence to move forward. And the third thing they did, they just tore down the old walls. They formally got rid of this outdated guidance from way back in 2020 that was basically designed for a world before crypto was a serious thing. This cleared out all the old, complicated rules and really paved the way for this new framework. So, what's the big payoff here? Why does upgrading this old financial plumbing matter so much? Well, it's all about unlocking capital. Let's look at the old way. You want to make a trade? First, you've got to initiate a wire transfer. Then you sit around and wait for the bank to clear it, which could take hours, sometimes even days. Finally, the collateral gets posted, and then you can trade. It was a whole multi-step, multi-day ordeal, all dictated by banking hours. Now, look at the new way. The difference is just night and day. You post your digital asset collateral, say some Bitcoin or USDC, and boom, you can trade. Instantly, 24/7, 365. That's what atomically means in this context. It happens in a single, instant step. No waiting, no banking hours. And the impact of this is potentially massive. We're talking about billions of dollars in digital assets that were basically just sitting on the sidelines, siloed off, unable to be used as collateral in these huge regulated markets. This one change could unlock all of that. Okay, but here's the catch. This is called a pilot program for a very good reason. This isn't a free-for-all. The CFTC has put some pretty serious guardrails in place to manage the risks. Firms that want to participate have to follow a whole list of strict conditions. For instance, they have to apply what's called a haircut to the crypto's value. That just means if you post $1 worth of Bitcoin, they might only count it as, say, 70 cents, just to protect against those wild price swings. They also have to submit weekly reports, get legal opinions, and, this is a big one, report any cyber incidents within 24 hours.
And on top of that, stepping into this new world means dealing with totally new kinds of risk. You've got cybersecurity threats, of course. There's the risk that the code in a smart contract could have a bug and not work the way it's supposed to. Plus, there are still a lot of legal gray areas. How do you treat these assets in a bankruptcy case? Courts are literally just starting to figure this stuff out. And proving you actually have control over assets in a complex digital wallet, that can be pretty tricky. So let's zoom out for a second. This move by the CFTC, it's not just some isolated rule change for finance nerds. It's actually part of a much, much bigger story that stretches from finance all the way to, well, farming.
For starters, what the CFTC did here really creates a ripple effect. It kind of puts pressure on other big regulators like the SEC to get with the program and clarify their own rules for digital assets. It forces everyone to keep up with innovation.
Now, check out this quote. "We are not just planning. We have landed. Our infrastructure is active, our data is live, and our compliance is automated." Sounds like it could be from a fintech company, right? But get this, it's not from the CFTC. It's from a strategic plan for an agro-industrial park in Uganda. But the core idea there is exactly the same as what the CFTC is doing for finance. This whole concept of landing with ready-made digital infrastructure, it's happening everywhere. The goal is to build new, smarter, data-driven systems from the ground up, whether you're in finance or farming. So what we're really watching here is the slow, very careful, but totally deliberate process of upgrading the world's financial plumbing for a digital-first era. And that leaves us with a really provocative thought. Is this the blueprint for rebuilding our entire global financial system on digital rails? And, what happens when the rest of the world's money can finally move at the speed of the internet?